So we're back with more Bellular, talking about future content plans. I watched his one about kind of updating merch and stuff like that. I think this is probably the one I wanted more, is to kind of know what's going on with Bellular and Final Fantasy XIV moving forward. This one's pretty old because I record things that are published in the past so that they're in my present so I can react to them and then publish them sometime in my future, which will be your present and soon to be past.
I can see a lot of people getting to like Shadowbringers and being like, or to a certain part in Heavenward's patch content and going, what in the fuck is going on here? But it's all stuff that's explained to you and stuff that will be explained later. So if there's ever a point where you're going, what's going on? It's like you can have faith that it actually that will be capitalized on further down the road in some capacity, which really means you have to have your brain on, remember everything you're told, or at least have someone who remembers it all, like Matt from our Discord, who, you know, you hit him any question, he's got the answer right away. He's don't know what to call him outside of a genius FF hero, but
yeah, I think there's three supers that are kind of supporting to this.
Yeah.
Eternal Fellow saying, can't wait to see Bell deal with the moral questions he'll have to wrestle with from villains by the time he hits Shadowbringers. Me too. Thank you for the super, and me too, because yes, that's been built up to me. We've got Gavin Schmackle saying, glad you guys are covering one of my favorite games. Here's a month sub on me. First of all, cheers. Second, I mean, man, yeah. It seems like this is so many people's one of their favorite games, and like a massive intersect with the WoW audience as well. Nino here saying, isn't it nice to play an MMO and to have its music on? Soken is a gift to this world.
Really is.
The music so far has been so good. And I know I'm only in A Realm Reborn, and it will get better.
I believe a lot of Realm Reborn was actually composed by Uematsu, the usual FF composer.
Well, I really like his music.
And Soken did a lot of arrangement for it as well.
Gotcha.
And then Soken takes over in the biggest way later on, where he does where he does all of it to the point where he is the Guinness World Record for, this is actually later in the document, he has the Guinness World Record for most original tracks in a game.
Whoa.
Yep, something like 386, and that was like 4 years ago.
Damn.
Man's a complete lunatic.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because, like, I do enjoy WoW's music.
Yeah.
Especially, like, whenever WoW is more chilled out, I really like it. So, TBC, it's got one of the... Yeah. I think TBC and Wrath have got, like, some of the best soundtracks WoW has ever had as a video game soundtrack, where the soundtrack is supporting the mood of gameplay and the sort of the zones that you're in. My main criticism of the modern WoW stuff is sometimes it's just too big. It's too big of a sound. It's too full of a sound. It goes too orchestral too quick, I find. Whereas, you know, when it was Russell Brower just chilling, having to do the best out of his, I forget the name of it. It's like a big synthy thing that you can do a lot of orchestral stuff on from that time.
WoW has good music. I think the difference between 14 music and WoW music is, and I'm perfectly comfortable playing MMOs with both the sound on and sound off, either one. And so if I want to listen to, you know, something from Spotify or Pandora, or I want to have a podcast in the background, I turn the music off. Doesn't matter what game. That's not an insult to that music. That's just that, like, I have an opportunity to play something visually and receive audio from something that maybe doesn't have a visual component, or a visual component that I'm as interested in. Maybe I glance over at it on a second screen. That's just different. But I will say, like, a lot of WoW's music feels like really good music that could be put in similar settings in any game. And as you get into later expansions of Final Fantasy, Shadowbringers in particular, it really feels like that music doesn't really function the same way in any other content. That content is unique and special, and the music feels really well catered to exactly where it is. You can't just move the tracks around. You have the choice to have mount music on, and actually sometimes, like, mount music can kind of be something that takes you out of that, because when you hop onto a mount that has a particular music, it may not work with that zone, and it's kind of jarring, even if it's a good track. So it's a wide array of types, you know, so, like, you may not like all tracks equally if you have certain types of music as a preference, but I think it all fits the tone and the mood of that moment really, really well.
Time. And I think Russell, of that, he's like one of the people with the most plugins or most something, because he, I don't know, spent loads of time. And I remember him talking about it. But yeah, I feel like sometimes WoW is just like too big, too loud, and there's just been something really nice with the FF stuff so far. Yeah. So yeah, it's been honestly a really awesome experience, and I cannot wait to do more. We've got JAO also supering to say, where can I see you stream the game? I want to see reactions to the boss fights, certain cutscenes. I see, that's big, right. I actually care about the game and the experience enough not to stream it.
Whoa, whoa. Be careful how you say that. Let's play that back.
Certain cutscenes. I see, that's big, right. I actually care about the game and the experience enough not to stream it.
I actually care about the game enough not to stream it. Be very careful with that statement, Michael. That throws every single person that enjoys sharing that stuff on stream under the bus. It says that they cannot care about the game as much as you do. Which that kind of gatekeeping does exist within the 14 community. There is one group of people having more fun than another, even though you can't be in somebody's head to decide how much fun they're having or how much care they have. I care about the game enough not to stream it. First of all, they didn't ask you to stream it. They wanted to see your reactions. So they asked where you can stream it, but if you look at the underlying question, where can I see your reactions, is the real thing. And there are many streamers that, because of spoilers, wait to publish their reactions until, you know, a week later or something like that. So some reactions trickle out much later. This community in particular has an enormous love of people who stream the story. Because it is a shared experience. Getting to be there when somebody else has a first experience is the closest thing you can have to having that first experience all over again. Because if you go through it, you already know what's coming. And so I think what he meant was, as a narrative person, the way I consume games, and as a content creator, the way I stream, I think that I cannot do this game justice in the way I want to consume it if I am also creating content in the way I want to create it. And that is totally fine. But to say I actually care about this game enough not to stream it as just a blanket statement, as just a quick off-the-cuff reply, that is really unfair. Because they're, as a community that identifies pretty substantially as story being one of the more important pieces of content, and as it being one of the smaller number of hours you're going to spend doing in the total, saying that people can't go share that with other people if they care about the game. If they really cared, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't share that. They wouldn't record it. That's some sort of ambulance chasing, view chasing crap that's really them chasing monetization over that. Quickly becomes the meaning if you take that statement and you replay that clip literally anywhere else. And so as somebody that is this well-spoken, even in his clips channel where it's very off the cuff, hopefully there's some clarity that comes immediately after this.
Do reactions to the boss fights, certain cutscenes. I see, that's big, right. I actually care about the game and the experience enough not to stream it.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing with me, maybe, but you know, if I am kind of doing content that I'm comfortable with, I'm sort of fine and happy to stream that. But for me, in a game like FF,
better,
I want to be entirely immersed. And if I'm sitting there thinking about, okay, I've got to be entertaining to everybody, I've got to read chat and see what the crack is with them.
Better.
It's like in a game like this, I just have a feeling that I really need to play it as a completely immersive story, free from all of that stuff. You know, just so that I can really get the most out of it. Because it's this thing, right? See, when you're streaming, you're never 100% in your brain. Like you're always just a little bit thinking about the meta of, okay, I'm streaming, I've got to do a good job for everybody watch.
Maybe. My plan with Endwalker, and yes, the hard thing about reaction content is I don't know what's coming next, and so you have to pause it. And so, you know, I'm glad you went back and touched on a lot of that being more of a personal thing, leading with a big statement and then drilling it down to mean something more specific. But like for me with Endwalker, because I know that people are going to care about Endwalker. This is the finale to the story. And I know that for me, seeing a dungeon boss, but without cutscenes and things like that, that's not very spoilery to me. I can watch gameplay of a raid boss before I get to that raid boss, and I'm fine. For me personally, and so my plan with Endwalker is to run spoiler-free Endwalker progression for the first probably 7 to 10 days. So we'll open up on the 19th. The 23rd's official launch. Thanksgiving here in the U.S. is, I believe, like the 27th. So through probably the 30th, I won't touch story. And then I will come back, and I will begin streaming spoiler streams to go through that. During a spoiler stream, it's a different presentation. And so I think he's putting a lot of emphasis on what a stream needs to be, how interactive it needs to be, and all that. When you're doing a story, just like when I'm doing reactions, you can throw a big header up that says, like, hey, here's where I'm at. And so my goal is to focus on story. There may be moments where we pause and I look at chat. After a quest, I may take a minute and let's talk about it. Let's have that experience, kind of like a book club, right? You'd read a chapter and then you'd all discuss and you'd all agree not to read ahead so that you could all be in that moment together. And so I'd like to share my thoughts. It'll be really hard for chat to respond because I'm going to ask that they be respectful of no spoilers. And if they can't be respectful of that, I'll just stop reading chat. So I want to go through that experience myself. But I do want to share it. There is a community that I'm a part of, and I happen to be the one on this side of the camera. Some of them are also sometimes on this side of the camera on their own respective channels. And the goal there is to be there, just like you would in a book club, as close to in person as possible. And the way content creation works is as close to in person as possible is live content, which is where it's my face on stream and them chatting in real time. That is the format. That's what we have as gamers. There used to be things like video replies on YouTube and stuff like that that made it a little more conversational. Reaction content on the YouTube side is in many ways more set up to be interactive the way the algorithm functions than even the live side of YouTube at this point. I know they're working on it, but at this point, I think reaction content is something that the algorithm is better at handling because of things like the and the way recommendeds work and the way the algorithm looks at the way two videos interact, even though they're on different channels. So I think he's putting a lot of emphasis on what he thinks story content would be, because in World of Warcraft, to get to the story, you would have to read every line. You'd have to go click on a book. It's much more like investigative. You'd have to go dig for this. Everybody to be on the same page would have to have read all the same books and looked at all the same off-platform things, even things like trailers and stuff like that, because the lore is much more spread out. It's there, but you're learning about a whole world, like history books, right? The question of what makes it into a quest is really hard because it's just a bunch of scattered information as opposed to a main story quest centered on a hero, and that hero being us. That's very, very straightforward. And so the main story quest, the MSQ, the main scenario quest that we consider our primary content, that's really easy to decide what's spoiler and what's not for that. And so I think there's an opportunity to share it. I think there's an opportunity. So I think what he's talking about, like, I don't want to break that wall. We're getting a chance in this Clips channel to see really raw Michael relative to Bellular Gaming, Bellular News. And so I think this is all people are asking for. Like, let's just sit down and have these conversations. Let's just sit down and just play the game, just have a webcam on and then have your editors go through and just grab the moments. And, if he can't, once he knows it's on, if he can't feel relaxed, then maybe don't do it. But I don't think they're asking for this production or the production that we're used to seeing from his two primary channels.
They're throwing their time and their money into this. I have to deliver the goods.
Yeah, you're presenting for people.
Yeah. Where, I'd worry if that would make it harder to be deeply deeply engaged.
Yeah.
But I will be providing you with weekly updates via this as
Good.
Everything goes. And we already have one video queued up for next week in the channel, and we will have more on the main channel.
Yep.
But I'm very excited about all this.
And to say that you'd be distracted while streaming is absolutely completely true, because I've I have found myself being a little bit too distracted. First being on Discord with people, even during the more gentle bits of MSQ. Later on, where I'm
I can't do Discord while doing story. I'm not a very strong reader. I read okay. I've gone to college and stuff, which forced me to be a certain level of reader. But it's every single time life has asked me to read something as a requirement, I've always started under the bar and had to read and get better at it to raise up to whatever the minimum standard is. I come from a family where a substantial number of people are heavy readers, and so that's definitely relative to the people I surround myself with, which are really strong readers. So I find reading text, because not everything is voice acted in the game, especially when we get into things where there are heavy concepts being dropped, lots of proper nouns like vocabulary unique to the game, or somebody like Arianje that uses more Old English, and so I have to kind of move. It's kind of like reading in another language that you have a rudimentary understanding of. You have to kind of rearrange the words a little in your head sometimes to make sure that you're understanding where the emphasis is in the sentence. And because every word that he says might be important, you have to kind of hang on a lot of these. And so I sometimes have to read his stuff 2 or 3 times, which is one of the reasons that I resent him as a character, because when he says something that's not meaningful, I read it 2 or 3 times and I didn't get anything. So there are certain characters that are not my favorites, and that has more to do with my interaction with them, right? As an ARR story skipper, I will never, ever, ever like the person that asks us to continue coming back to them and sending us on errands. Ever. She is many people's favorite. Her character model underwent a massive transformation from 1.0 to 2.0, and I will never like her. It's not going to happen. And so, your interactions with NPCs can also be driven by just the way you interface with the game. And so I can't be in Discord. I get that. But stream is different, because you can always say, hey guys, you're welcome to be here, kind of watching me, but I'm going to be playing the game right now. I'm going to be focused. I mean, raiders do it all the time. World First races have some of the largest attendance, and they have little to no chat interaction. Somebody could drop $1,000 donation into stream, followed by people all shouting the exact same phrase in all caps, and the person will not see it. That happens. We are talking about World First progression. It's not about streaming in a traditional, let's, just chatting, let's interact, I want to run some dungeons with people, feel free to hop in. There are different forms of content creation, so if he doesn't want to explore that one, I get that. But I will say, what he's doing right now, the immense success they're having with the Clips channel, shows that Bellular and the team, that this whole team is capable of content that they have not traditionally made public in this way. This is something that's having immense success right now, and it's not what we know them for. So, I don't know if this entire thing's put on by Pepsi Max. That's a fair question, because it is in every video. But I would say, when it comes to content creation that is outside your comfort zone, saying you don't want to do it is fine, but it is worth admitting that whether or not you've taken a look at it, because it is more than possible that what you think is not good, we would be thrilled to consume. And yes, these guys are both content creators and game developers.
I'm just reading some quest text. Nothing big is going on. I'm just kind of paying attention to what's been said. And even when I have Twitter open on another monitor. Because one of the reasons I threw up my second monitor, I usually only use one, but I threw up a second one in portrait, so I could read guides and talk to the boys on Discord while I was playing some endgame stuff. I'm like, you know what? I almost, there was a time I was like, I want to rip this monitor off this arm and throw it out the window, just because I can feel it's pulled some of my memory from this specific couple of bits of dialogue away. So that's a fairly major thing where I feel like I really feel like I'm wasting my time if I'm not giving it my full attention. At least during MSQ stuff. Obviously, if you're in a dungeon, do whatever, or if you're playing the game.
Yeah, we've got SOJH Soj17 saying, while I like seeing reactions, I'd rather you appreciate it. You're most immersed. Thank you. That's how I want to do it. And I think that will mean that when it comes to me doing impressions content or just any content, I'll be able to give you like an actual player's experience. It's one of those things where like it's sometimes hard to trust. I don't mean hard to trust streamers and YouTubers and like journalists in the game space, but it's like, I mean, Youngya actually did a video about this recently on his channel, I noticed, where he basically apologized for Cyberpunk. Yeah. And, you know, how he reviewed it and stuff. And a lot of that's just because, man, you only have so many days to do a thing. It's all content, and that changes how you appreciate it, how you engage with it. I'd rather just go a bit slower and, you know, hopefully do it.
I do think that's a fair criticism. You know, I know when some streamers come over, especially when they already have an audience and they're coming in for the first time, and their audience... you know, the viewers and the community surrounding all of that is aware of that person and is aware they're in their new player experience. It is not uncommon for them to be given resources, be given, people are always around when they're in spaces. They're regularly having people hand them things or help them through content. It's easy to find groups. And so in an MMO in particular, because people can go and be in the place that their character is, you know, Asmongold has talked about doing it live, and there's a lot of pros and cons to that. Rich Campbell's talked about his experience live and how wonderful it's been. There's a lot of pros and cons to that. It's not a true, genuine experience. It is their genuine experience, but it is not a representation of what the average general experience will be, because the average person doesn't have a bunch of people literally standing around waiting to help them. So I do get that. I would just say it would be really nice, and you could do it offline and still hit record on various boss fights specifically and kind of catch that reaction, or immediately after filming or after finishing the boss, duty complete, get out of the duty, watch the cutscene, see quest complete, because it's usually tied to a quest for a lot of those, see quest complete, stop what you're doing, and hit record. Because that moment right there is something really special. And while to the game, to the devs, the number of subscriptions and all that, you're right. It's just a person. It is nice to get someone else's opinion, and a lot of us would like on that list of people whose opinion we like, he's on that list. And so getting his thoughts is another viewpoint that many people would like. And if he's willing, I would encourage him to be willing to share that. Not just in like a weekly breakdown, but like in those moments, those emotional moments, especially as you talk about things like end of a patch, end of an expansion, end of a full cycle, these big payoff moments where it's meant to be tied up in a neat little bow, and anything left as a cliffhanger was done so intentionally.
A bit more right. Yep. And we've also got Cass saying, if you do stream it, which I don't recommend, put the channel on emote only or remove it. No spoilers.
Yeah.
That's probably how I do it, because anytime that, like, was the thing about heroes and smiles or something?
A smile better suits a hero, yeah.
Yes. It's like anytime someone says that, chat just erupts into emojis and emotions.
That might be the way to do it.
Which, it does make me think.
There's a lot of stuff like that where I definitely feel spoilers, especially like stuff that's like short term, would completely wreck your enjoyment of it. Because not because it always pulls out massive things that are like, oh my god, big moments. It's literally just like, if you experience the story as it is, even most of the decent stuff is just like, it's just so much better going in completely. I mean, well, there's a couple of frowny faces. QQ's after saying, yeah. I mean, it's a big phrase. It goes to show how much. It's not going to say anything about when it's said or anything, but it's just like, that's a big moment for people.
We've got a few more sort of playing FF.
Somebody did say, would you want somebody to tell you you're going to want to clip this? No, you don't want to tell people when the big moments are coming. That's I think emoji chat probably exists for that reason.
Supers. Forbidden Purple saying, any chance could be recorded and be cut up into little highlight videos to be able to experience certain events with you, or will that be too immersion breaking? That probably wouldn't be. We just need to set up like an actual way to do that. I mean, Dark Cloud also supered saying, would you consider having a friend saying you'll want to clip yourself doing this for fans who want to see your reactions? totally consider that. And there was another super I wanted to bring into this sort of whole thing, which is from that one's from Dark Cloud. This one from
you got it
from Shadow Tycho, who said, "Can you record your reactions for certain points though? People will be 100% able to tell you when it will be worth." And there's somebody else said something about shadow play, to which all those things
So when a main story quest, a main scenario quest has a picture in the thing, I think that's when that means we're getting like a cutscene. As just a non-spoilery of like, this moment's really important. And that kind of going, oh, then I was thinking this was going to happen, I bet it's now. Like, no. Just anytime you know that you're going to get like a voiced cutscene, those are a lot of your big payoffs as a general rule. Trial fights are one of your big payoffs as well. So anytime you have to queue for an 8-man duty, that's a big one as well. So I would say that those things, right, post-instance and post-voiced cutscene, those are probably the moments that are kind of your biggest moments. So if the quest has a picture, I think that means it has a cutscene. I don't know if that's always means voiced. As a general rule, just hitting record then would protect you from the majority. I can't think of too many just wildly large moments that are in text only that I've come across compared to how instrumental a lot of the stories have been. Also, if you want main story to remain protected and sacred because this is your first time through, you could do that and then save things like job quests for alt jobs, raid series that it doesn't require you to do, and you could go record those as standalone things. You'd have a lot more context going in. It would be a bummer to miss some of the stuff that going along the way because we'd of course like to see it. But those are things where the total amount of footage recorded would be very, very small, because if you had a dedicated group with you to run things, you know, your friends or whoever, you could literally run the quest, run the trial, run the quest, run the trial, run the quest, run the trial. And if you're picking stuff that's already complete, like Sorrows of Orlet is now complete, you could finish it in a single or 2 or 3 sittings if you wanted to.
I will say,
Yes.
I've already been playing it with Shadowplay on. I will ensure that Shadowplay microphone is on, and I'll be keeping Matt up to date with where I am, and you'll be able to tell me what the bits are. Yep, because certainly I'm more than happy to chuck a camera on whenever I sit and go into the big bit and just see how it goes. Because from everything that I hear, they...
So another indicator is the last quest of every patch is named after that patch. And so the final patch of 5.0 Shadowbringers is 5.5, and 5.5 and 5.55 fell under Death Unto Dawn. And so the final quest name would be Death Unto Dawn. So that's another point that if you want to just hit record generically, any of you that want to say like, hey, I may want to share this one day, those are other moments that like that would be something, okay, I'm going to complete this quest in one sitting. It's not going to be this wildly large, because it is daunting to say, okay, I have to set up my camera every single time I want to play the game, and I don't want to have 600 million hours of footage, and every single time I finish recording, because of hard drive space, do I have to decide, okay, was any of that worth clipping? If not, I need to delete it because hard drive space is a limitation. I get that, not wanting to have 1,000 hours, but you know, if you don't want to do it live, the other thing you could do on YouTube is you can stream it to a private stream on YouTube, since he's a YouTube streamer. That's really easy to do. And then their tool allows you to kind of cut it up and things like that. So you could always kind of save it to Google's hard drive and just keep it there.
They seemingly are able to pull off some pretty mind-blowing, just mind-blowing shit in the narrative. That it just seems like it's kind of incredible how people are saying Lahi. I don't know what that means, but it seems like it means quite a lot. Yes, Biblioteca. Do Archimango, hello. Super saying 2 words that blew the FF14 away, and someday you'll understand. Lahi. I don't know what that means.
It's actually further than this doc. It's not a big spoiler, though. It is further than this doc. It's a bit of music it's referring to. And a big community moment, let's say.
Is that what Soken?
Soken's a hero like it. Yeah. Do you know Lahi?
Yeah, content creation around getting into the game, especially when you have a group of people, friends, family, a community that are interested in seeing you do it, is a hard line to walk. I would be careful to say there's only one way to do it, and I would be careful to dismiss it altogether. This community loves that first playthrough, seeing people's initial reaction. And so while the emotions are high, immediately after a quest, hitting record does a lot, especially for somebody that's comfortable on camera. While you're in it, catching a couple of audio clips, those are great. And I think if you want to have chat turned off, if you want to have Discord turned off so that it feels like it's just you, that's fine. One of the things that makes you feel like the camera is not on is always having the camera on. It does go away over time. So, and I'm just telling you that from experience of having, I don't know, probably thousands of hours of camera on me at this point. For footage that we both used and footage we haven't. And so there is a point where it can be turned off. I just think that, he's been an invitation to so many in the community, and a lot of those people are going to look around and say, I felt this way after this quest. I wonder if other people did too, and he's going to be on that list. So I would definitely encourage him to look at any and all ways, especially as he gets to things like wrapping up ARR, wrapping up Heavensward, these big, big moments, these big trials, just even as just generic, okay, I'm going to record every trial fight and what I feel after. I'm going to record every patch named quest and what I feel after. And I'm going to, and that's it. And that's all I'm going to record. Just starting there. And then if you miss something, and then saving things like Hildebrand, job quests, raid series that you don't have to do, things like Omega, and going and doing all those in a single sitting. Sorrows of Werlet, Eden, going and doing those in a single sitting so that you can record those and talk about how they make you feel about this already established world in your mind. I don't think you need to record every side quest. Beast Drives, in my opinion, aren't that much of an emotional journey for me. That's probably a personal take. But that's what I would do. I don't think all the job quests are created equal in how they're going to implement and how they're going to make you feel. But you don't know which ones you're going to like until you've done it. So I would just hit record on those as a general rule. But either way, interesting to know where he's going from here. Interesting to see him do more 14 content. And I hope to see a whole lot more of it as he gets into the game, whether or not he shares it with us. Kinda.